agenda is the May. Yeah, thank you. The first line item is the May ATJ board meeting minutes, pages 2 to 4. And are there any additions or corrections that need to be made? And if not, uh, what is it? Anyone wants to propose to approve the minutes? Entertain, that's the word I'm thinking.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, thanks, Mercedes. Anyone second?
Second.
Been moved in second. Thank you, Nick. All right, so let's go to the next item, which is proposed new comment to CJC 2.2. Nick.
Do we have to vote to approve the minutes?
Oh, sorry. Gosh, that's right. Thanks. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Just
Raise your hand.
just
No, no,
following
no,
the
it's okay.
rules.
Oh, no, and I always appreciate that. I'm just like, let's just skip it. Raise your hand if you approve the minute. All right. Looks like everybody, anyone oppose? Any board members oppose? Okay, been approved. Okay, now we move to Nick. Thanks.
I'm Nick, in charge of the rules, so that's good. Yes, good to see everyone. And we're talking about proposed comment to CJC 2.9. Actually, I think on the agenda it says 2.2, but it is 2.9 ex parte communications. It's in the packet. For those unfamiliar, it's the rule with regard to what a judge can consider or do in regard to ex parte communications with a party. And we are proposing a comment. And essentially, Rule 2.9 says a judge shall not initiate, permit, or consider ex parte communications or other communications made to the judge outside of the presence of the courtroom or the parties, except for as follows, and there's a long list. And then when we look down in the board packet, the proposed comment is number 8, and it says ex parte communication for scheduling or administrative purposes allowed under section A1 of this rule may include procedural information about what happens next and what is expected of litigants in the relevant case type. Procedural information may be provided ex parte if other parties have not yet appeared in the case. Providing procedural information to litigants in plain language promotes the efficient administration of justice and helps ensure the right to be heard. Procedural information is not substantive if it describes the standard court process, rule, or law and does not apply judgment to an individual case. Examples, not a complete list, are service requirements, possible consequences if no proof of service is provided, information about how to appear remotely, request accommodation, or get a court interpreter, possible consequences for failure to appear, how and when to provide working copies if required, how to confirm a hearing if required, how and when to provide proposed orders, and deadlines for responding or taking the next step in a case. The point of this comment is to clarify with regard to scheduling and administrative areas of communication that would be allowed under the exception, so that the court can do its best to stay within the court's boundaries in terms of communicating with the party, but also trying to provide information to people who don't understand the legal system or don't understand what the consequences are or what the scheduling rules are, what the scheduling rule consequences are if you don't follow them. With regards to some of these items that I just described. So that's the general idea of this, and that's the comment that we want to propose.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Are there any questions that we have on the proposed comments? Go ahead, Carla. Yeah.
I had a question, and maybe it's just because I don't know, but there was something in this rule that says, like, if there's somebody that has to, like, appear first in the case, and so the person who appears second needs to do a waiver. I should have highlighted that sentence, that And so I was just kind of wondering, like, if somebody who's represented by counsel might appear first in a case, and so the non-represented party might be the second to appear. And does that matter? Or I was unclear about that.
First of all, does that matter in what way?
Well, about having to do a declaration to be able to qualify for a waiver.
Well, this is not talking about getting a waiver, this particular rule or this comment. But any ex parte communication is where the court is communicating with just one side. And so one of the things that this comment is saying is if the other side has not yet appeared, it's okay for the court to talk to the side that has appeared, particularly let's say if it's the opposite of what you described, Carla, where the unrepresented person has appeared first and is trying to figure out what's going on. It's okay for the court to say, look, these are the scheduling um, deadlines that are coming up, or these are some of the consequences if you don't move forward in this way. But there's nothing in our comment that's changing anything about the ex parte rule with regards to what you're asking about. But I'm still happy to answer any question if that doesn't help clarify things.
No, I think I kind of merged the two together, the ex parte and the fee waiver. So,
Yes, which I think we're talking about the fee waiver next.
okay, I apologize.
Diana has a comment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Diana, sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
see your hand.
no, I was going to just make a comment that I think I'm not sure, Christy, if you're involved, but a few years ago I was involved in the Superior Court Judges Association Self-Represented Litigant Task Force. Had a really long name. Anyhow, one of the things that came out of that work group was they proposed changes, which I think they were adopted for Rule 2.6, ensuring the right to be heard, which has a long list of things that are designed to give the judges direction of how to make their court self-represented litigant friendly. And a lot of the things that they listed is consistent with what you're proposing in the ex parte one. So I'm just sharing that to say I think it's a good proposal to add that content to the ex parte communication rule because that's sort of devoid of all the things that are listed in 2.6. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, consistency across those rules is certainly helpful and important. So totally agree. Thanks, Diana.
And I just had a question, Nick. The language about whether procedural information may be provided ex parte if other parties have not yet appeared in the case, was that added? Because this is language that came from Lori Garber, right? Originally. Okay, yeah. So was that added by the work group or was that in the original? By the committee, by the rules committee.
No, the rules committee did not add that.
Okay. Okay.
Any other
All
questions?
right. Are there any other questions or comments that we have? All right. So at this point, Nick, do we need to make a?
Yeah, I'll just move that we
Yep.
board approve submitting this comment from the board to CJC 2.9.
All right. So Nick's made a motion. Anyone second?
Second.
Okay. Moved in second, Chrissy. Any other further discussion, amendments? All right. Hearing none, the board will take a vote. All in favor of submitting these comments to Rule 2.9, please raise your hand. Anyone abstain or oppose or abstain? Anyone oppose first? No? Anyone abstain? Okay, so motion approved. All right, thanks, Nick. Yes, Bonnie.
I have
Yeah.
a procedural question. I'm not clear for myself if submitting this something like this has to go through the GR9 cover sheet process. Nick, I don't know if you're familiar with that process should be. So unless you have thoughts on what that should be, maybe we can just connect on what the best next steps are for these types of submittals?
Yeah, let's just connect. I'll look into it while
Okay.
we're sitting here.
Okay.
Great, great. All right, next topic is GR34 fee waiver obstacles. So at the last board meeting, we actually submitted a response to Chief Justice, and I think you probably have it in your board materials. And Chief Justice Stevens' response around in her email, in her letter sent by email, let's see, dated the May 15th. After we received that letter, I did reach out to Chief Justice Stevens about trying to schedule a meeting, and a meeting would include stakeholders, people who we've spoken to at DISCO, other people who had concerns around GR34 being followed in different jurisdictions, and immediately following, and then also like when we could schedule the meeting and so forth. And the follow-up was actually pretty quick. It was like, hey, actually Chief Justice Stevens would wanted to actually meet with me and talk through kind of like what she meant by hey, wanting to kind of get an update. So I think it was last Monday, or maybe it was previous Monday. It was actually just recently. Did have a phone conversation with Chief Justice Stevens. She provided me kind of some, information of kind of what she understood were some of those obstacles in GR34, and then also kind of like what would be some possible co-convening next steps. And so we discussed like what that could look like, when we could have it, and kind of her vision about what that co-convening could look like. And so one of the takeaways from the conversation from that meeting was she's very much interested in co-convening a group of GR34 stakeholders, which would include clerk's office, judges. She did have a question whether, was it just at the district level, superior court level, is also a muni court. That's also where there's been challenges or maybe misinterpretations of GR34. And so she's definitely wanting to meet and hear from different perspectives about what the issue is. She's been also on the back end, been trying to learn about these issues as well. So she's reached out to AOC. She's also talked to folks at the Clerks Association to try to get an understanding of what this would be. And so just in terms of kind of her role, as the Supreme Court's role in with GR34, thought it would be a better way just to convene folks with ATJ's co-convening and support to identify stakeholders who could be part of this meeting. And then, and so she would come up with a list, we would come up with a list, and then potentially have a third-party facilitator to have the conversations, to be able to say, okay, let's hear everybody's perspectives, invite other Supreme Court justices to this meeting so they can actually hear and understand what the issue is, and then possibly move forward into coming up with some possible, like, how do we move forward at whether it's addressing the rule itself or comments or other next steps. So timeline wise, I know that GR34 has been kind of an ongoing conversation for a while, and I know it was brought up at the DISCO meeting by Chach and others. And so what we are, what she's proposing and what I'm sharing with the board as well as our partners in this is to say, is to first of all, that, is this something that the board would want to co-convene with the Supreme Court, and would actually be specific with Chief Justice Stevens, a meeting, identify the stakeholders, possibly bring in a facilitator to have to facilitate the conversation so that ATJ board members as well as Chief Justice Stevens can be a participant and listener, not a facilitator of the conversation. And then looking at dates. I know that summer is a busy time, but also she understands the urgency of this matter. And so really looking at maybe doing a convening in the next couple of months. And so we were looking at August as a possibility, and it is something that if the board is willing to co-convene, we could also look at dates. We could also look at who would be best situated to be a facilitator for these conversations. And like I said, it would be stakeholders, including, court, judges, clerk's office, community members, legal service providers. and then try to figure out so that we're kind of all on the same page. So we're all getting the same information about what's happening, what are the challenges and barriers, and how do we move forward. So I would love to answer any questions folks have. Um, and how we would, and whether we kind of support the idea of moving forward with a co-convening with just Chief Justice Stevens. So happy to answer any questions. Or are there questions? Yes, Nick.
Yeah, so then at the Rules Committee last meeting, when we had the folks come and present on all the stuff that they had done in GR 34, I think the discussion, Maya was there too, was essentially this exact idea. And so
Mhm.
and I think I helped write the letter we sent to Justice Stevens. So
Yes.
probably my fault that it wasn't clear, because I think the idea that you're talking about, that she's talking about as well, Mike, is exactly what we wanted to propose to her to do. And we wanted to propose to her to do it as soon as possible. So August is great, if not sooner, because the groups that have been working on this really want to meet. And if they were hoping she would be the facilitator. I understand that she would rather have us get a facilitator. I think either way, her being there would be fantastic. I think the board should totally be on board with doing this. The Rules Committee is completely on board with it. The GR 34 folks are completely on board with doing it. And we just want to try to move the ball forward as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I want to
Go
second
ahead.
what
Yeah, Maya.
so I want to second what Nick was saying, and I think August would be good because it gives us, I think, 2 disco meetings, maybe 1 disco meeting, 1 tech committee meeting, and 1 rules committee. Maybe I don't know how frequently you all meet, so I think August is far enough out that all of the subcommittees will have a moment to be able to tell the folks, as well as the disco, as well as the ATJ listserv. So I think that will be enough times for people to hear it for them to show up. So happy to help support in any way or think about the
Okay.
facilitation piece. So just let me know.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Maya. Andy, I saw your hand, or maybe you came off mute. So.
Oh yeah, no, I did. I just have like one question and then like one observation. My
Yep.
question is like how that would play in, or like how, if any, that would impact like the current or potentially soon litigation. Like I know that there may be some litigation around GR 34 in some southern counties in the state. And then if that gets up to the court and if the court's facilitating all this, like how does that, if that plays any impact? And the second, I know it sounds like people are excited about this, is great. I don't know how more clearly people can identify the problem. So I do feel like it's a little bit of a cop out to just say, let's talk about what
Yeah.
the problem is. I honestly don't know how clear this community can be about what the problem is.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Andy. And I think the letter really clearly laid out that I think it was a February 27th letter from that really cleared out like these are the issues, like this is what it is. I think when Chief Justice Stevens did get it, it was more of a CC, like, hey, awareness. And in her mind, she thought that the letter it was addressed to, the Clerks Association, would have responded to that letter. And to her knowledge, and then she found out that there was no response. And then I also followed up with Chach, and there had not been a follow-up to that February 27th. I think you see it in the materials, right? I don't think it's February 27th letter that was sent. But anyway, I think one of the things, Andy, I agree, and I think what I think is happening is that she's receiving information that is a little bit different than the information that was, that we're providing or that she's hearing from other sources. And she's also, reached out to some of her colleagues on the Supreme Court, said, hey, are you hearing about this issue? And they're not hearing about this issue. And so it's more of an awareness, not just to Chief Justice Stevens, but also to the Supreme Court to be aware of these things, of the issues, but then also making sure that, okay, are there some other conversations happening when, is there other work or other conversations happening where she's only getting a piece of the information? And so I think it's more around the clarity around the issue that she is really focusing on. Andy, I think to your question around, I don't think when she was saying co-convening, I don't know if she is even aware that there are potential litigation, and maybe she is aware, but just, but she did offer about this, about co-convening this meeting, but having a third party facilitator so that she can fully engage and fully understand the issues rather than trying to facilitate.
And then I
But
guess,
yeah,
and there is a response from the Clerks Association. I mean, I have it in my inbox at least. It's dated yesterday.
okay, so there is. So
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
so they did respond. Okay, so I didn't. So that's great. I don't think that's great that they did respond because that was one of her concerns is that this letter dated February 27th has not been responded until I guess today or yesterday. So that's great that there is a response. I don't know, Andy, if that's something you can share with ATJ board or I didn't, or if it's not, but you can decide on that part. Um, so like I said, I don't know. I'm glad that there was a response. When I spoke to her last Monday, I think there was no response. So I'm glad that there was something. Was there anything substantive anything that was helpful in that response, Andy, that maybe you can just share verbally? Or not?
Let
That's
everyone
okay. I
else
don't
know.
want to put you on the spot.
I'm not like leading that GR34 work group. I think it's very clear what the clerks think about all of this, and I think they made it very clear in their response. But you guys can all take your own viewpoint
Okay.
on.
Okay. All right. Well, there is a response. That's great to hear. Thanks for the update, Andy. So I think the next step is really to, whatever the position is of the Clerks Association, I think it does warrant a conversation that happens. And so, and I appreciate Nick and Maya supporting that idea of how to move forward with it. I think, Nick, to your question, I think, yeah, I think the idea was to convene, right? It was to convene and asking Supreme Court. Her response was, hey, I kind of need a little bit more information about it. And then that's when I responded and said, hey, well, there's some stakeholders and other people that are happy to inform you because I'm definitely not the subject matter expert to talk about GR34 and the barriers to it, but let's bring in other folks and schedule a time. And that's when she said, hey, actually, I think we should have a broader conversation. So it's not just a ex parte communication, if I can, directly with, without having other folks like the Clerks Association and judges part of that conversation. So, any other questions from the public and any other information that has come up that folks may have some perspectives on?
It may be good
Okay.
to
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah,
especially with what Andy said, to follow up with the GR34 task force chair, that's what I'm going to call them, to see about the response and sort of the response from
yep.
Chief Justice and sort of like, what should we, now that we know that he is interested in a meeting, do we want to do something with in August, knowing all of this, the new sort of pieces of information that was just shared?
Yeah. And that's great, Maya. I think the first thing is for us to say, yeah, I think we are willing to co-convene. I want to give an update like, hey, this is the update from the meeting. She's willing to co-convene. You're right. We should circle back to say, do you still want to co-convene based on the response of the Clerks Association? Because I think it does warrant that. And what is our, like, what's the purpose of the meeting, right? We need to be very clear about the purpose of the convening is to discuss barriers or to share, whatever. The second thing is what is our role? What is the ATJ board's role? What is the Supreme Court's role? Is there a role for a third-party facilitator or not? And then the next thing are identifying some dates. And like I said, she definitely sees this as an urgent issue, thing. But she also knows that just gathering folks, including Supreme Court members to be part of that meeting is also critical to not do it too quick, but have enough time that folks can be there. So yes, hopefully I answered any other your questions or Nick. Are there any other questions or comments? And I don't think we need a vote, but I just wanted to kind of give an update and then I'll circle back with Chief Justice Stevens from our conversation. I did say that I was going to share this with the board today and circle back. Any questions, concerns? Are there landmines I should be aware of that I might be stepping into? I always love, and I know this is a public meeting, but this is the time for us to kind of engage and talk through. Okay. Well, I will circle back and let you know probably, and I'd probably let you know maybe at our next meeting, which will be on the road. And so we can definitely provide an update, hopefully by that time. So thank you all for your input. Thanks for your perspectives. Thanks, Andy, for letting us know that there was a response to this and potential litigation around this issue. So I think this is all helpful information. Let's move to committee chair updates. So I will go first. So I co-chair with Michael Terasaki, the Delivery Systems Committee. And we did have a meeting, and I'm trying to find my agenda here. Basically, we did provide, I think there was a pretty good, robust conversation around GR 34 rules discussion. And at that meeting, on May 18th, we were kind of talking about, hey, ATJ board sent this letter, possible convening, who are STEM stakeholders, who are some people we could have. And so from that meeting is actually when, Nick, we decided to say, hey, let's get the experts in the room to have that conversation with Chief Justice Stevens. And then that's where the conversation kind of came, hey, let's just have a one-on-one conversation. There were also some guest speakers, practice of law boards, supervised practice pathways, and then we just did a quick debrief of Equal Justice Conference debrief, which we will also have that today because we have a couple of our ATJ board members attend that, and maybe there's some other folks that also, other hosts, other guests who also attended that. But really, that was kind of the part of it. We were also talking about RPC 1.8, this subcommittee update. And Bonnie, was that something that we wanted to send to the Rules Committee? Is that what Michael, there was something that Michael had
Yep.
suggested in an email.
Yep, that they did
And-
ask to bring that to the next rules committee meeting.
Yeah, and so I think, Nick, Michael was asking about bringing 1.8 to the Rules Committee and wanted to know when you are meeting next. And so I am happy to talk, happy to connect you with Michael to see when that could be. I don't know your schedule, so.
Our next meeting is July 21st. I'm just sending him an email right now.
Okay, perfect. All right. So that's the update on Disco. Andy, was there anything that, yeah, I don't think you were there, but I don't know if Michael had any updates to provide. Okay, great. Okay, I'll pass it to Nick, who's the chair of the Rules Committee.
Yep. So our next meeting is July 21st, noon. Yeah, happy to talk about 1.8. In our last meeting, which was a couple months ago, we were talking about GR 34, obviously CJC 2.9, and then we also had a request for volunteers, which was for, oh, Bonnie, do you remember what that volunteer request was for? I'll find it. For anyone who wanted to serve on something.
Might
I
have been
will.
1.8, the
Oh, it
same.
was 1.8.
I
Yes, it
think
was
it
to
was
serve.
1.8.
That's right. It was for 1.8 to serve with Michael on their work group. And so they still would like people, if anyone is interested, just to work on that. So, well, Michael's going to come to the next rules committee meeting, so we'll talk to him and see if he's found anyone else. But that request is still out there. So that's where we are. And I don't think there's any other updates that are different from the last meeting.
All right. Any questions for Nick? All right. So, and then Technology Committee. Maya, you have any updates?
Yeah, I just have one brief one. Is like the main focus right now is to get the technology principles out to court administrators. So we're thinking about we're doing a e-learning module thing with administrative reports, and then we're going to have a September lunch and learn, or the legal lunchbox CLE that will be for community. So more about just like community engagement right now.
Great. Thank you. All right, so we will move on to any other updates, any other committee or task force, because I also want to make sure that I know that a lot of ATJ board members are liaisons to the different court commissions and other groups. Are there any updates that you have for us that, that is really important for us to kind of be aware of what's going on the different commissions or task force that you might be assigned. I can think of one I'd like to hear, Carla, around the community justice gap. I don't know if you have any updates on your last meeting.
Oh, well, we had a meeting, and so we had given everybody a lot of homework with the literature review, and we had hoped, we had set a deadline, an ambitious deadline for June 1st to have the literature review completed. We extended that to Monday, June 8th, to allow people a little bit more time. And we had, I think, an incredible meeting on Monday with all of the different um, regulatory groups and the legal aid groups in the state, and the bar association committees that attended and gave us a lot of information to consider. So I thought it was a great meeting. So I think we're on track.
Great. All right. Thanks, Carla, for your work on that. I know those full days can probably be really exhausting, but I know, and that was the second, right? That was the second
It was the
full
second one.
meeting.
Yeah, a ton of information. Yes.
Great. And if others who were at that meeting, if you have any updates or anything else on that, um, a big project for ATJ Board in the WSBA. Great.
Mhm.
All right. Any other committee updates that folks are involved in, or anything that's pertinent to that we should know about? All right. And I see Karen just joined us. Hi, Karen. We just talked about the rules being the rule committee, Nick, who is the chair of that, and I think it's RPC 1.9, I think. Maybe I got the wrong rule there. And so the next meeting is July, what was that, Nick? July something. I don't remember. Okay, so let's go on to ATJ Board in Ellensburg and start collaboration. So it looks like Leslie's not with us today, but Carla and Yvette, do you want to provide some updates on our On the Road, which is coming up in a couple of weeks?
Well, I can go ahead and talk about that real quick. So, I think that we're really wrapping up the outreach to find the people to participate in the listening sessions. The three areas that we wanted to focus the listening sessions are farm workers' rights, immigration, and public benefits. And so we have our run of show. And so I think that that's really going to be great. We have a good groups of people to talk to, and I think we've gotten because the star event is going to be happening at the same time, so Bonnie has gotten us all registered for that, so that's great. So I think that we are doing okay with that as well. Yvette, do you have anything to add to that?
I think you did a pretty good job. I mean, I just adding the Star Summit event, right? That's the reception they're having. It's from I've seen some updates on times, which is 5 to 7. Yeah, there seems to be a pretty good um well, we seem to have a lot of organizations, some really strong ones that will be presenting on some of the issues that are impacting the communities in this areas. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah. And Bonnie I know that Andrea is handling the travel and everything. Has everyone responded to the MS forms, the board members who are attending? Did you get everybody's response?
Yep, we're all set on the travel arrangements. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, and are folks, raise your hand if you're going to be attending 24th and 25th. Just wanted to see. So it's it's all of us. And Mercedes, no? Oh, you too. Okay. Okay, well, it's great. So I just didn't know if board members were going to be able to participate in that. So I think it'll be a great uh, joint joint effort with the Star Council, and really looking forward to their summit on Friday and then our community meetings on Thursday. So great, and it'll be great to see you all in person. All right, so the next one is any updates, if there are updates from the Alliance partners and stakeholders, EJC, LFW, OCLA, civil rights aid organizations, and other guests who've joined us today. If you have any sort of updates, announcements, events coming up, questions, concerns that you're seeing that you think would be helpful for ATJ board to know. So I see you, Lily. I'll let you start first.
On behalf of the Access to Justice Institute at Seattle U Law and also the Gates Public Service Law Program at UW, we invite all of you and any law students and summer interns that you're working with to our Alliance for Equal Justice Public Interest Networking event this summer. It's actually coming up pretty soon. It's Tuesday, June the 23rd. It'll be at Seattle U Law from 4:30 to 7 p.m. We will have as our person introducing Michael Terasaki. And if Michael can't make it, Andy will reach out to you. And then our keynote speaker will be Riddhi Mukhopadhyay, Sexual Violence Law Center. And hopefully it'll just be a fun time for students to meet connections in the legal aid community and the equal justice community, because that's what students are always telling us that they're lacking, that they really want to get out and meet people. We are still working with UW on the marketing and the registration. I'll put some information in the chat, but I will forward, hopefully we'll send the information on the ATJ listserv for registration for anyone who's interested, and you're certainly welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thanks, Lily. Anyone else have any updates?
Happy to give some updates for OCLA. So not a whole lot going on right now, but we are in the time frame of considering decision packages for the biennium. Our due date is September to have those finished. So we're in kind of the deliberation phase right now. We'll be working on those over the summer. We put out a survey on needs and listening session for EJC members. We had limited attendance on those, but we also received a memo yesterday from the Equal Justice Coalition themselves outlining 2 different funding priorities. So we'll be reviewing those and discussing soon, and anticipate being able to have some specific details on decision packages for the August meeting. Couple other activities that we just did. We had a positive response to the budget presentation that we gave last month. And then just this week, we presented to a panel of approximately 50 legislative assistants about how to connect constituents with legal aid services in Washington. It's an event we do annually, but it's always nice to see some of the new faces that come through. And we were happy to have NJP join us in that. So I think those are our updates. More to come as things develop this summer.
Great. Thanks, Annalise. Any other updates? I don't think LFW is not here, right? EJC and other civil legal aid. Andy, do you have any updates from your end? No?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. All right. And I know Karen joined us. I don't know if you have any updates as well from any activities that are happening.
No, nothing too exciting to report back today. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah. Sometimes no news is good news, right?
True. We're
All right.
along.
That's right. All right. So the next item on the agenda is Equal Justice Conference report out. So I'd like to call Mercedes or Maya if you want to kind of share kind of the highlights, updates from the EJ conference. And then also we'll open it up to other folks who might have also attended.
So it was a great conference in Charlotte, hosted by the ABA and the I'm gonna mess up their acronym. MDALA. You might remember the acronym better than I do. Um, but it was like the main sessions were Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning. Um, Learned a lot about the different options for providing services and different ways to engage the pro bono partners. One of the things that like I learned at that conference that wasn't aware about was the state of North Carolina put a pause on their IOLTA funding. And so it made me thank my lucky stars that Washington is nowhere near that and has a state legislature that wouldn't really pull out the legs or pull out the funding from it, anybody at the current moment. And they were hit with that at the same time that the pullback in federal grants were. So a lot of the legal aid providers were really reeling around this time last year when they had just uh, their major funding sources pulled out from under them and having to pivot and think about new funding streams in adjusting for that reality. So yeah, that was something like a big takeaway for me that was really surprising. Um, and also learning about the resiliency of that legal community, because not only were they dealing with that, but they were also dealing with aftermath of a major hurricane that devastated the area in 2024. So a lot of the conference was kind of delving into dealing with those big changes in dealing with circumstances like that and better in the lessons that they learned from that and being better prepared and or trying to be better prepared for terrible circumstances where big devastating events like natural disasters and major detrimental effects of lack of funding affecting legal aid provision in their community. I'll head it over to you, Maya.
Thank you. Please let me know if you can't hear me. Um, my takeaway would be some folks are still trying to interact with their state agency. So I'm really happy that we have a really good relationship with OCLA, but I also think there could be some sort of roundtable that we can maybe extend outside of just OCLA into other state agencies. So it's really cool to see specifically in California when they do that. And then there was information around communications and having a communications plan for access to justice boards. And so I think that's like right in line with what we're trying to do with the communications plan. And I was thinking about maybe like a communications committee or some sort to really make sure that we get the word out of the work that we're doing. And yeah, it was really great to just hear what other organizations outside of the nation is doing. One, it was really good to, share how to do it for as a civil legal aid provider myself, but then also how lucky and privileged we are in Washington State with all of the resources we do have within our legislature and I also fund. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Mercedes. Are there any questions that they have? One question I have, Maya, is was there any good materials or resources around that communication plan that maybe you could share with us or share with Yvette and I? I know that part of what we just talked about, what Yvette talked about earlier today during our working sessions, is around developing an engagement plan, and we are looking at rebranding ATJ Board, and it would be great to hear if other ATJ boards or how they're doing or communication plans might really help inform how we should also educate and inform the work that we do. Great. Thanks, Maya. And if there's other resources, both of you, that you think would be helpful for the board, please share those resources with us, because I think this is also opportunities for us to kind of share what's going on in different states and how we can show up to support our state, legal aid organizations. I think this is really a call for us to just kind of think about how do we advocate for more resources? How do we, advocate for, unrepresented litigants and what we can do to kind of bring those things to light. All right. Are there any of our guests who attended the EJ conference? Anything other highlights that really, came up during that meeting? No one? Okay. All right. So we're on our final stretch, and I think we might have some extra time. But our announcements. So are there any announcements that folks want to share this time? And I'm happy to kind of give some updates on the work that ATJ Board is doing and currently working on as well. But any updates? No updates? So I will provide some updates to our guests here. I know the board members. We just came off of a very lengthy working session. So one of the things that if folks are aware of, that we are still working with the appellate work group. So this is a group that's led by Sarah, Francis, and Aaron. This is a kind of a continuation of their the report that they are hoping to publish, and so they are going to be still part of some of the work that they're going to be is really looking at implementation, educating and implementing. So we're kind of excited to continue the work that they led. It's basically also a continuation of at the ATJ conference last year. They did a session around some of the appellate work groups, identifying some of the issues and what are some possible solutions. And so that's the next phase, is really identifying some of those solutions and really engaging some of the appellate courts about the report and how to really make the appellate court more accessible to folks. The second update is folks of you who may or may not know that we are in the process of updating our ATJ order. And so one of the things that we will be reaching out probably in a couple of weeks is to our alliance members to get some feedback on our revised order. As you all know, or some of you may know, the last couple of years, ATJ Board has been really shifting kind of our mission, vision, and values. And so we're at a point where how do we align our mission, vision, values with updating our revised court order, which hasn't really been revised since 1994. It's been updated since then, but not really revised to reflect our mission, vision, and our purpose, and our goals for what we do. So one of the things that I'm going to so that we will be probably sending out an email is asking our alliance members to give us feedback on what that draft order could look like, what are some of the changes, and then how we can also prepare it to present this to the Supreme Court, which we will hopefully do that in the fall. Any questions? All right. And then, as you all know, that we do have the On the Road, which we will be in Ellensburg, the 25th and 26th. And so we will be in Ellensburg meeting with community organizations. Thank you to Carla, Leslie, and also Yvette, who've been helping with planning that, as well as attending STAR Council planning meetings for that as well. And so we've been really helping with that planning of that. And then another announcement is our ATJ Board on July 10th will be canceled just because we busy summers, and also we have our ATJ Board on the road session on the 25th, so having two meetings set by set. So we'll send out a cancellation on that July 10th meeting. And the next on the road, we will be doing two this year. Our next one the board also discussed having the next on the road to Spokane. So Spokane was actually was the original plan, but then we decided to partner with the STAR Council, who was going to Ellensburg. So we are still planning on going to Spokane in the fall, and we're looking at tentatively the September 23rd to 25th. So we're looking at sometime in the end of September, but those dates are something we'll be doing. So the next on the road. Any questions about kind of the plans for this. So it's a busy time for us, but we're really looking at moving the work forward. Any questions? Any announcements or updates from anyone else? Well, hearing none, I think I will give these 29 minutes back to all of you, which is always exciting, especially on a Friday. Like, who gives time back on a Friday? I mean, that's the best thing. But thank you all. I want to hold, but Bonnie, Diana, are there anything that we should also talk about, or is there anything else that you think we should share? Nothing more? Anything I missed? I missed a lot. And nothing
No, I don't think so.
going. Okay, well, I will give this time back to you, 38 minutes or 28 minutes. So thank you all. Have a great weekend. And hopefully if you're out in Ellensburg, we hope to see you in person at the Star Summit. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.